Cops swinging batons at protesters as thousands turned out for an anti-migrant rally in Glasgow just days into the Commonwealth Games. Rampaging crowds clashed with anti-racism activists in shameful scenes at Glasgow Green, with violence spilling onto the city centre streets. Weapons were seized as an anti-migrant demo brought racist thuggery to the Commonwealth Games host city. Police declared a no-go zone around Glasgow Green as the Unite the Clans protest descended into near riots and hooded yobs clashed with pro-immigration activists. Masked louts wielded pyros as a force helicopter hovered overhead amid chants of "send them home" and "stop the boats." Cops with batons drawn were seen chasing yobs and restraining a tattooed man in a balaclava. And in disgraceful scenes, witnesses told how louts yelled racist abuse at flats housing Glasgow 2026 delegates, with Games chief said to have warned volunteers to steer clear of the city centre. One witness told how police battle for control as up to 2,000 people turned up to face off. He said it was pandemonium, a riot. A large group were stopped from joining the anti-migration demonstration when others began rampaging towards them. The police drew their batons. They were swinging for people. Organisers of the counter-protest appealed for calm, but it wasn't working, and a huge crowd went running into surrounding streets. People wearing Commonwealth Games hats and shirts were watching on, absolutely horrified. Green Brigade ultras were kettled to stop them getting near the protests as they headed to Parkhead for Celtic's friendly match with AC Milan. But one thug was heard bragging, "I'm a Nazi and I love it." Meanwhile, rival demonstrators held signs marked, "Your racism isn't patriotism," and "Immigrants aren't the ones spreading hate." Force fans and officers on horseback lined the streets as the trouble spilled into the city centre. Yobs hurled a traffic cone as a driver fled into a restaurant as thousands of fans flocked to enjoy the second full day of sports action. Witnesses reported seeing up to 200 rioters being kettled by cops in Oswald Street off Argyle Street. One resident said, "Police told everybody to stay inside." Seconds later, rioters appeared and were chased around the corner by more officers, like they had set a trap. Men with masks were seen coming to windows and doors and making racist insults. It was so frightening. "There are Games delegates staying in this block. God knows what they're thinking." One Games volunteer said, "We've been told to steer clear of the city centre. We've got young ladies working who are scared to be outside." Police confirmed there had been 15 arrests so far, including for weapon possession, assault and breach of the peace. The ugly scenes followed previous protests at homes of alleged sex offenders in city neighbourhoods. Glasgow City Council leader Susan Aitken blasted the scenes, saying nobody should dignify racist violence and intimidation by painting it as a protest. Police Scotland have been clear that many of those they face today from all over the country and beyond came intent on violent disorder, including a number who were carrying weapons. It's important that those responsible and those who incite and encourage them are held to account. Secretary of State for Scotland Douglas Alexander said the scenes in Glasgow this afternoon are wholly unacceptable. For the second time in as many months, members of the public in the city centre have faced serious and concerning disorder by protesters who want to spread division and fear. All the eyes of the world fall on Glasgow with the Commonwealth Games, and the city welcomes people from all over the globe. It's disappointing that people are choosing to spread division rather than celebrate community, friendship and compassion. Scottish Conservative Justice spokesman Stephen Kerr said there is no excuse for violence and disorder, and Police Scotland must have the support they need to get the situation under control and bring those responsible to justice. Scottish Government Justice Secretary Neil Gray said, "I expect anyone who is carrying out the racist thuggery that we have seen previously on the streets of Glasgow to be treated robustly by the police, and for any kind of intimidation and other tactics that seek to divide our country to be met with the full force of the law." Around 3,000 athletes from 74 countries are in Glasgow for the Commonwealth Games, with fans from around the world arriving to cheer on their teams. Commonwealth Games spokeswoman Sophie Ashcroft said, "The safety and security of our athletes, fans and workforce is our highest priority, and we are working closely with Police Scotland. We continue to monitor, but there is no impact on the Games at this time." Chief Superintendent Emma Croft said, "We have seen significant disorder from disparate groups in Glasgow at what should have been peaceful, lawful protests. Incidents of this nature can understandably cause a great deal of concern, and our officers took quick and decisive action to protect the public and bring the situation to a conclusion. I want to be clear that the behaviour from many of these groups is not legitimate protest. It amounts to violence, intimidation and fear and will not be tolerated. Officers have recovered weapons that clearly indicate there has been an intention for premeditated disorder, violence and intimidation. Inquiries will continue in this regard." At a time when Glasgow should be shown at its best, it's extremely disappointing to once again be dealing with violence and disorder that attempts to create unease in our communities.